We are back on Morning Line. Thanks for joining us. Our guest this morning, as you see on the screen, talking elder law and Medicare questions. If you want to jump in, 737-7587. Josh Hunter is here. He is a Medicare expert. He works, of course, in the firm with Tim Takacs, who is the elder care attorney extraordinaire. Thanks, guys, for coming on.
Yep.
Glad to be here.
Mary waited through the break. How about that?
Yes,
Let's go to Mary. Mary, good morning. Hi, Mary.
Good morning, Nick.
Good morning.
I just had a brief question. Y'all hit on it a little bit while ago. I have a Medicare and Blue Care Plus, and I also have TenCare, and they're trying to make me let them come in and make sure my house is safe and all this stuff. Do I have to let them do that?
Well, that's a good question. I see what you're saying there. You're the first dual eligible person we've talked to who has Medicare and TenCare today.
Oh, really?
So that's always cool. That gives you special benefits.
Yep.
But in terms of what your rights are, if you're competent, you can say what does and does not happen to you in your private environment.
Right.
Now, I would really talk to your doctor and say, why are they trying to come in? You know, is there some safety concern? Do they want to make sure you're not a fall risk and stuff? You know, if they can benefit and give home improvements, then it's worth asking about.
Yeah, meaning that if they could, then it's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm just, are you just concerned, ma'am, that you just don't want someone in your house, but if they could come in and maybe offer some suggestions to make it safer, is that something you'd be okay with?
Well, I just really don't like the invasion.
Oh, I understand. I understand. So,
I mean, I'm perfectly safe in my home.
okay.
Well,
I
you
mean,
don't have to. Then.
You don't
That's
have to let
fine.
anyone in your home you don't want to. That's I guess maybe part of what she and others may have a concern with is if they refuse this, could this somehow hurt their benefits?
No, not when
It's not
not when
contingent.
it's something preventative in this way. No.
Right.
Now, in times where you refuse something and it can cause you problems, is like if you check yourself out of the hospital, well, you may not qualify for skilled care anymore. Like if you decide, oh, I actually need some rehab, you have to go through those steps in a certain order.
Okay, meaning if you just walk out of there, kind of like Cindy said she did.
Yes.
Which I've seen happen twice this year.
Yeah.
People say, oh, I actually did need help. You know, my muscles didn't recover right, and then I couldn't
and I
go
want
back.
to get back in, and they say I can't, because
you got to go back to the hospital and do it again.
So don't be hasty about that. Stick it out. You better be darn sure how you feel before you go. But
at least talk to your doctor and tell them, I want to leave. Why do I need to stay?
Okay.
You know.
And as far as you're concerned, Mary, then I think that was a good suggestion. It's always good just maybe ask your doc. You know, they're asking to come in. Why do you think that is? And what's the reasons? But if you just don't feel comfortable, that's fine. But if it's only because you don't want someone coming to your home, but there's a chance there could be something in that they could help you with, have a friend there with you if you're uncomfortable.
Yeah,
they're going to be professional, provided, they're going to be professional, and they're just going to look to see. But if you just don't want to do it, that's completely your call, Mary. Right?
Exactly.
Exactly. All right. Other points that maybe, since this is our last segment, we may take a call or two more, but that you think we should hit people on, the two of you, as we're embarking on this period from October 15th to the 7th.
One thing that pops into my mind is we actually have a big supplement change that's happening this next year.
Okay.
I'm making it a great effort to tell everybody. No, actually the opposite. So they're taking 2 off the market for 2020. Yeah, Plan C and Plan F are coming off the market. Here's what it means. For people who have it, they'll be grandfathered and allowed to keep it. People who are new to Medicare will not be able to purchase those plans. Here's the thing, though. It's not the first time we've seen supplements go off the market.
Right.
So what'll happen is the premiums are going to skyrocket over time. They're not getting rid of the plan because they want people to keep it. And so I'm telling people, talk to your provider, like if you have Plan F, maybe to go down to Plan G before you have to do it 2 or 3 years from now when it's super expensive.
So doing it now, is that like you
always better to do it earlier. If you don't have guaranteed issue rights, medical underwriting never gets better over time.
How often does a supplement plan go away? And what I mean by that is it just goes and doesn't, like you said, the ones who are on it will be grandfathered in, no one else can join. But haven't there been some supplement plans that have just gone belly up or whatever, have gone away, and then all of a sudden people have to find new coverage?
No, you're thinking of like companies. See, these supplement plans are nationwide, and whatever company chooses to provide it.
Standardized plans.
So Humana and all these people.
I'm thinking of where that's happened, where someone said, well, I've lost my coverage on this, and it's probably the company they went through.
So if the company went out of business, then that would be guaranteed issue. You would get back into another company.
I see.
Yeah, they can let
that's
you
what someone
switch.
asked about, and I
Yes,
think
you
that's
could
probably the
switch.
answer
Yeah,
you
you'd
gave.
get a special enrollment period and your guaranteed issue rights to pick out a good plan because the company having a problem's not
Whatever
anything
reason.
up to you.
Went away, and so
Yes.
then you're
Right.
able to find something
Yes.
else.
Yeah, Medicare doesn't penalize you for that.
Okay.
Thank goodness.
Okay, all right. And when people are turning, you said 65 is when you're eligible for Medicare.
Or 2 years on disability.
Or 2 years on disability. And do you apply for it prior to turning 65?
It depends. If you're taking your Social Security early, like let's say you start taking your Social Security at 62, it's going to automatically start when you're 65. You're already in their
Is there
system.
anyone sitting here with us that's 65?
Sitting here with us? No.
Nope. I'm 64.
I was like, not at the moment.
What are you going to do?
Well, Josh, what should I do?
Well, we'll sit down and review.
You know, we talk. I mean, it's like, okay. I mean, I've got the benefit of like one of the best in the country.
Yeah.
You know, sitting next to me.
Right. Well, and you're not planning on retiring anytime
I'm
soon.
not, but I'm
And
going to
so-
be in Medicare.
Yeah, but you'll be in Medicare. Which you would. Do you have to go on Medicare?
No, if you have something that's called creditable coverage, you can choose to stick with
Okay,
that, like
so-
an employer coverage that you really like.
Now, Bill
You can
Gates
keep it.
doesn't have to do it if he doesn't want to.
No,
If
he's
you're-
probably got a private plan
Well, if
or
you're a
something that's
bazillionaire and you can do it, but why wouldn't you go on Medicare? Even if you are well off or whatever, why wouldn't you do it?
Probably employee benefits. Let's say, you know,
Maybe.
if your company's paying for your plan or whatever, there's no need to pick up Medicare right now if it's creditable
So
coverage.
you can put it off.
That's
but-
right. So long as it's creditable coverage, and as soon as that stops, it would be like you just get onto Medicare, you just turn 65.
So do you have to let Medicare know at 65 that no, I'm not going to be in on
No,
this
you
right
don't.
now?
You just wouldn't enroll. And
Yeah,
what would
wouldn't
happen
enroll.
when you come off of your plan, let's say it was an employer plan, you would get a letter of creditable coverage, and you take that with you when you sign up.
Medicare is here. When did it start? Who did it start? I forget.
1964.
And the idea of is that
1964.
before that, the idea was let's come up with a social program that will provide basic health care for seniors when they're no longer working and maybe not as
That
able
is
to pay
right.
for it.
That's
Exactly.
That is what it is.
That's right.
I mean, it was a pretty amazing thing.
Yes, it is.
When it came about.
It
When you
still
think
is.
about it, and it still is now, but I mean,
Yeah.
to have come up, and there are other social programs, of
Right.
course, but when you think about it, that's what it came about for. So when you get to that age, you're no longer working, and maybe you don't have the income, that's
Right.
Medicare is supposed to be there. Is it? Would you call it a safety net?
Yeah, definitely. It's something that you've paid into for, like you said, when you're no longer able to maintain what you used to do.
And
it's
that's true.
something to
That's a
pick
great
you up.
point. We've all, as we've worked, put money
Right.
into what the benefit you're getting. Is it like Social Security then in that way?
Yes.
That the money you've earned.
That's who you've paid it
Portions have been taken out of every one of your paychecks every year you've worked, and that's gone to Social Security, of course, and it's gone to Medicare coverage as
into.
well.
I mean, that's who manages your enrollment in
So,
Social Security.
Yeah,
there
right.
are people out there that don't have enough quarters.
That's true.
So what do they do?
For people, there are different ways you pay for your Medicare. Medicare Part A is what you think you're paying into. That's your hospital, that's your inpatient coverage.
Right.
You have to have 40 quarters or 10 years. If you don't, they can
Meaning in
sometimes
your
pull
life
off
of
of the
working,
spouse.
10
That's
years of
right.
working.
And like sometimes what we see though is, you know, if you think of the old days where we had, you know, dad was working all
Not
the
as many
time and
women
mom was
working.
staying at home.
Mom
Sometimes
did it.
mom would pull off of dad's working credits if she
Right.
had over, which he
Right.
may have 50 years of working credits he can
Right.
use. He
Right.
only needs 10.
You only need 10. So
Right.
then,
But
if
then
you
there
have
are
a spouse
people.
at home,
But then
then-
there are people. Okay, obviously the spouse at home gets it. But what if you've got an old, a person that either never worked or worked sporadically or something like that.
Right.
You know, and now they're 65 and they only, and maybe they only have 20 quarters.
Right. Well,
What
if
do they do?
there's nobody you can pull those quarters off of that they can find in your family that hasn't banked those quarters, then yes, you would have a Part A premium. It wouldn't be premium free.
you'd have to pay. And does it matter how much, in those quarters, does it matter how much you earned in those quarters?
No, it's not about how much you've banked. As long as
It's
you
just-
have your
Meaning the
10
key is
quar-
that
yeah,
you've
your
got 10
years.
quarters where you've worked, whether you were
Yeah,
making
40 quarters, 10 years.
20,000 a year or whether you're making 100,000 a year. It just doesn't matter, but you have to have shown that you've worked, but that gets you in there to qualify.
Right, and we
That's
all
right.
know you get a Social Security statement every year. Shows you how many quarters you have. Your earnings statement. So
Yeah.
we always tell people make sure you look at that to make sure that all of that information is accurate.
Yeah, everything's going where it's supposed to. There's not some filing error or something.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Don't want to lose your quarters because something's just not going the right way.
Well, for most of us, I think for people like you and I, we've been working for well
Right, a
over
long
10
time,
quarters,
yeah.
thankfully.
Yeah.
I'm
Yes,
glad that I
thank
can
you,
say
yeah.
that. But
Yes.
all right, so that's something people, need to be aware of.
Because I think about like my sister-in-law, who fortunately I think she's got 40 quarters, but she's had like waitressing jobs and everything else, and you know, there's some people that like maybe they get money and they don't want to be, they want to be off the grid, you know, and somehow they don't. So, well, if I don't pay into the system, you know, then the government isn't going to know where I am. And it's like, well, then you're not going to get Social Security, you're not going to get Medicare, you're not going to get a lot of things that.
You're talking about folks that aren't paying taxes.
Yeah, maybe some of them are.
Some of them, they're getting paid in check or under the table or whatever. Well, then, first of all, that's illegal. And second of all, I have no sympathy for them. I'm sorry, you turn 65, you want Medicare, and you've been taking money under the table.
But then we think about, but then we also think about, I mean, there are actually, I mean, one of the things that we're looking at now is that we have a lot of people like 80-some-year-olds that have 60-year-old children who are disabled. They never applied for benefits because I'll take care of my kid as long as I'm alive. Well, now you got a 60-year-old, basically special needs child. Who's
nothing on the records, no benefits.
No benefits, no nothing.
That can be difficult. That's much harder to jump into at that point.
Meaning that because that 80-year-old's going to pass away at some point, and that individual should qualify, but it's going to be hard to get.
Yeah, they could qualify for a great deal of things, but some things need you to prove that you had this problem before you were 18. So that can be kind of difficult to backtrack.
So ideally, what these people should have done was been seeking benefits for them right then, even if they had means to care
and help early.
Right, exactly. Right.
At least get it on the books.
Get it on the books, even if. And I understand the sentiment of maybe, you know, I don't need to take a handout. I can take care of my child.
Sure.
I don't want to go that way, and I respect that. But
every one of those 80-year-olds that come into our office, you know what? It doesn't matter what's happened to the 80-year-old. 100% of what they're thinking about is who's going to take care of my child? Who's going to take care of my 60-year-old child when I'm gone?
Right, we don't know what we're going to do.
We don't know what we're going to do. I mean, we have those cases.
And they never thought of that before they turned 80.
Right, because they've always been healthy and moving and active until one day you're not.
There's always an end game.
There is, yeah, exactly.
I mean, you have to think that far ahead, I would think. And that's another example. That's where you
get. That's all public education. That's why we need to make sure we get this out there and say, look, if you're 40 years old and you have a 27-year-old, you know, or 21-year-old special needs child, you need to go get help.
Yep. Get on the record now and get. I never even thought of that people don't do that.
Right.
Wow. And it can make
because they think that,
difference.
well, you know, I'm going to get help and the government's going to take my, I mean, there's all sorts of stuff that they think out there. That I'm going to lose my independence.
There's a lot of extra paranoia sometimes. That it's hard to weed through what's truth and what's not.
I understand. Right. That's why we need people like you guys. Yeah. You guys are awesome. Tim.
Great.
A pleasure.
So
good to see you. It's good to see you. I just keep coming on. I do. Look, I love Barbara, but you and I go way back. I just love it when you come on.
Yeah, I'm like,
Josh, nice to meet you. You are terrific. Yes, you know, who's the other fellow, the former Marine?
Chris Johnson.
Gosh. He are really good.
They are, yeah.
All right, that's all I'm going to say.
We'll do a show with
bring them both sometime along with you. You guys are terrific. But we covered and we took a lot of phone calls.
That would be a good VA show.
Yeah.
Chris
let us know. Let us know and we'll do it. Thanks for coming on.
You're welcome.
My best to your lovely wife.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, and yours.
All right.
Yeah, and make sure your son gets in, or your brother gets in touch.
I'll get in touch with you guys to talk about it.
And anybody else, of course, anybody wants to call us.
We'll get the number up on the screen as we will in the final segment because I know several people waiting. Thanks for coming on, you guys.
Great. Thank you.
Programming note about tomorrow and contact information for Mr. Takacs' firm right after this.